I don't really remember them though.
Yeah,
If you happen to remember.
I was rereading the chapter and just thinking of like some Boruto questions. Um, and so I
Okay.
was like, chapter 7 of Two Blue Vortex specifically. I wanted to like think about things about Mitsuki, just like going back to like his backstory, even
Okay.
the one shot, because I remember we talked about like the zone thing, the shout out Zone. He does like the Zone podcast. Me and Kamui gone on there in the past. I listened to it the other day. They were talking about like how Mitsuki in the Mitsuki one shot, Orochimaru was comparing Mitsuki to the Earth. Now I do want to ask Zone about that more. So maybe we'll have him on the podcast at some point, or maybe next time one of us goes on, we'll ask him. Anyways, I was thinking about that, and so this is crazy, right? So Mitsuki has snake-like abilities, and from what we know, he's Orochimaru's son. Like Orochimaru made him with his own DNA and stuff. So, but like he's also his own entity. So I'm just curious, how how do you think he got these abilities, like his snakes? Like, how do you think he got them in the first place? Mitsuki.
Those snakes?
Yeah, like, how do you think he got them?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it could be from Orochimaru's experimentations. Or maybe it could be from, Orochimaru imbuing a bit of his sage energy into the synthetic humans that were originally Mitsuki's. And so,
Sage Energy is interesting because he does have Sage Mode. Yeah, I like that.
yeah. So what
He also could have been taught half of it too. I mean, he taught Onko the snake abilities too, or at least some of them.
Speaking of imbuing sage energy, I was just thinking about this, but what if Orochimaru learned how to do that from, how the Karma Seal operates? Like how Ishiki and Jigen were imbuing Karma Seals onto random kids to see if they were compatible with it.
I don't know.
What if that could have been the same thing for Mitsuki?
I always thought that was either through various experimentation, like that's the ultimate creme de la creme of where he got in this experimentation to do the body transfer technique. Maybe it just makes it easier or something. I don't know. Or he learned it in Ryuchi Cave. Because I could imagine a technique like that existing in Ryuchi Cave. Like, I could imagine the Snake King or whatever from Ryuchi Cave, if it bites you, I could imagine it implanting its own curse mark into you. Like, I could just think of it being
definitely.
a thing that exists there.
But it's just...
Technically, canonically, Orochimaru was researching that jutsu in, like, scrolls of the Hidden Leaf Village. Like, this immortality jutsu, like, Hiruzen knew what it was when Orochimaru first mentioned it. It just is a forbidden jutsu. Okay. Like, it just existed. So, yeah, I mean, that's how Orochimaru discovered. I mean, that's how Orochimaru discovered it. Which is weird, but...
Well, so, going back with
the
Mitsuki
actual
thing,
snake aspect, though, it has to be Orochimaru himself. I don't think Sorry to interrupt. The jutsu itself probably wasn't necessarily snake-related. It's probably just the concept of transferring your soul to another body. But Orochimaru, obviously has his snake aspects to it. That's probably more Orochimaru-esque. He could have gotten elements from Ryuchi Cave or whatever. But, like, if hypothetically, if Jiraiya did the jutsu, his might be toad-themed or something.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, like, what about Orochimaru gives Mitsuki snake-like abilities? In the same way, what about Koji gives him the frog abilities? It's seemingly the genetics, because it's not like Koji has Jiraiya's soul.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't think Mitsuki has Orochimaru's soul. But he has his DNA.
He doesn't. He has his own soul.
Exactly. Arguably, he doesn't have any soul at all. I mean, like, the Mitsuki retrieval mission. But
yeah, but okay. So, especially with Koji, though, it's just like these abilities of Jiraiya are like Orochimaru experimented on himself, right? You could, I mean, even that shouldn't have anything effect on DNA, but like at least he's messing with his body. Jiraiya just learned techniques. Like there's no genetic whatsoever. He literally just signed a contract with Toads and learned some jutsu.
Yeah.
How does that translate to Koji whatsoever?
Like, the thing about this is, some of those like toads and snakes in this case are both summoning animals. And so are these Mitsuki's or Koji's specific summoning animals? In Koji's case it is, because it's not even the same type of toad as Jiraiya's. From what we know, as far as we're aware, they might not even know each other. Koji's toads and Jiraiya's toads.
Yeah.
Like what if Koji's toads are from Mount Flo Biolokyu? You just don't know.
No, Fleo Boku.
So we don't know if Mitsuki's snakes are from the like real alive ones, if they're from Ryuchi Cave or somewhere else, or if they are Orochimaru snakes and they're just like able to be used by either of them in the same way that like Manda was able to be used by Orochimaru and Sasuke. We just don't know.
You know, actually, I was, coming back to Ryuchi Cave about your theory with the Orochimaru thing. I know we kind of talked about how there might be, it came from the Leaf Village somehow, but like, thinking about the way Mitsuki's snakes look. So if you're going to pick anything, they actually look the most like Kabuto's snakes, or alternatively, Orochimaru's true form, like the Great White Snake. So like, we know that Kabuto worked for Orochimaru, right? So, I mean, he's witnessed Orochimaru do stuff. And after Orochimaru died, Kabuto began to look like a snake like Orochimaru. And he mastered all his techniques because he took Orochimaru into himself. So, like, it's interesting. I was wondering, do you think, is it possible that Kabuto has Orochimaru's DNA?
Ooh. That's interesting because that goes back to the like DNA question of like Mitsuki and Orochimaru. He has his DNA but not his soul. I think Kabuto only has his DNA, obviously, not his soul. Unless you want to argue like curse mark shenanigans, but I don't think Kabuto even has an Orochimaru curse mark, which is funny considering it's Kabuto. Of all people, you would imagine Kabuto has an Orochimaru curse mark, but I guess he doesn't.
I know, like in Sasuke asked Kabuto if he got Orochimaru's curse mark, and he said, "No, I just mastered that power myself at Ryuchi Cave."
That's interesting, going back to like the snake ninjutsus though, because some of the snakes are summoned, some of them aren't. He's able to do the ninja, like it's almost like, I don't want to say it's a Kekkei Genkai, but it's almost like a nature energy. Like maybe it's like snake release is like yin release or something.
Yeah, it's just like freaking the creation of all things, bro. It's just spawning snakes out of nowhere and they're just alive.
Yeah. But what do you think, Immortal? Is it possible that Kabuto has Orochimaru's DNA?
I think it is possible. Well, it depends. Like, I really don't know a lot about Kabuto.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what.
He went.
Yeah.
Well, if he has Orochimaru's DNA, he should have access to some of his jutsus. If DNA like works similarly across the entire, lore of Naruto.
Right.
The thing that's weird though, but some abilities shouldn't like be DNA based. So like for Shibai, I can understand if it's like in his genetics to have like the Senrigan somehow, or if it's derived from it or whatever. But like some of these things are not like Orochimaru wasn't just born a snake. He was just a kid who learned to summon a snake. That's not his DNA. The same goes for Jiraiya. So like, what does DNA have to do with this for some of these characters?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, again, Hashirama, it makes sense. He genetically had a Kekkei Genkai, and his genetics had these powers. So yes, if you take his cells, you'll gain his powers. But like, these are learned techniques.
Did Orochimaru alter his DNA to be more snake-like?
That was possible with this experimentation because he obviously turned into a snake anyway. So that aspect can work, but that doesn't apply to Jiraiya.
When he does the body transfer jutsu, I don't think he can transfer his DNA, only his soul. Because otherwise, why search out for like an adequate vessel if you're just going to have your own DNA anyways? Like for Sasuke, he obviously would have to have Uchiha DNA, otherwise the Sharingan's useless.
Yeah, that's the whole reason he wants those bodies in particular. Like, so it's like, yeah, the whole point is he's just transferring his soul. So like, I guess he modified his soul. He genetically modified his soul. but Mitsuki doesn't have Orochimaru's soul, nor does Kabuto, clearly. So then why would taking their genetics DNA even matter? So does Kabuto and Mitsuki not have Orochimaru's DNA?
Well, actually, I think that's really interesting because we know that obviously Orochimaru is a character in Naruto, but he's also like this being in mythology. Like that's what Orochimaru from Naruto is based on. He's based from the mythology of like Orochi, the snake god from like Shintoism, Hinduism. I don't remember what Kishimoto got it from.
Yamato
That's like
no
the
Orochi.
inspiration though. Yeah, Yamato, whatever it is, you know. So my question is, do you think it's possible that like Orochimaru from Naruto, do you think will he have like Orochi's snake-like abilities? Because like in the Shintoism like story or whatever, Orochi, obviously like a snake god, like you can say Orochimaru is a self-proclaimed god and he's like a snake. But do you think he'll have these like snake abilities that Orochi had?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question, but that might be far-fetched.
Immortal.
I mean, what do you think, Immortal?
Yeah.
Sorry, rephrase the question again. I wasn't paying attention. I was watching a cooking video. My bad. I was a little bit hungry. Was it about Orochimaru and DNA still?
Yeah. So like obviously
Oodie was
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I gotta pee anyway.
Okay. Well, I was saying that Orochimaru is based off of the god religion, I guess, or whatever, Orochi, from like mythology.
Shinto mythology,
yeah. So do you think Orochimaru will have snake-like abilities like Orochi?
I really don't. I'm not really that versed in Shinto mythology or folklore all that well.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
I think there could be inspiration, but I think it's a bit far-fetched for him to have like the snake abilities of Orochi. Like that might be going too far.
Yeah, because he's only based on the character. Like he isn't literally the character. So it just seems weird to me to have Orochimaru have those snake-like abilities. Like I feel like they would give it to a different character, if anything. I feel like Orochimaru would be like one of the last characters I would imagine to have those snake-like abilities in particular.
I mean, like Kabuto is probably more likely.
Yeah.
Than even Orochimaru. Like Orochimaru of all people.
Kabuto does give me the Orochi mythology vibes, just based on like his personality and look and design and all that. It's probably why Kabuto's made in the first place.
He's the biggest snake of Naruto, at least, the whole series. Like
that's funny.
Like, literally though, like he embodies Orochi way more. So if anyone is gonna get his snake-like abilities, I would say Kabuto would be the one.
I think so too. I think it's just interesting going back like the ninjutsu angle though. Like, is it something imbued within their DNA? Like even though Orochimaru was born a human, maybe he was just naturally inclined to be able to summon snakes anyways?